Hello YouTube and welcome to another episode of The Cloudy Vape. In this video we're going to be talking about the TFV4 by Smok, or Smok. So here is the TFV4, the triple coil head is in here. I've also used the single coil RBA and I have not yet used the quad coil that comes with this. And also there is a dual coil RBA I've seen floating around the interwebs. If you do some Google foo, you can probably find it. I don't know if that's an aftermarket thing, if a different company made that, or if Smok or Smok actually made that themselves. I looked on their website. I didn't really see much about the RBA section as a second thing, or if it's in a different version of this. But there is a dual coil RBA section floating around on this. The single coil RBA section is working pretty well. However, it just doesn't really accommodate for how big this tank is and how much airflow you have in this. I have done a parallel single coil that works pretty darn well. However, I just don't think it is optimal for this RBA head. So definitely want to check out that dual coil RBA head. If I get my hands on that, I will definitely be doing a build video on this. And if you want to see the single coil build of this, definitely let me know in the comments and I will make an additional video to this. But let's talk about this guy right here. So this thing boasts you can go up to like 120 watts with these coils or something, or at least over 100 watts with these coils. I don't even want to push it to that because I'm not even comfortable. I don't even enjoy that type of vape. However, I can do like 85 watts and 0.2 ohms. That's about 4.4 volts. So let's have a little vape at about 80 watts with this triple coil head using a Max VG. So it's definitely a vapor chucker for sure. I hate that I just said chucker, but it is a vapor thrower. It definitely has a lot of vapor production for being such a, I guess a small tank. I guess it's not really a small tank. It's actually larger than your 22 millimeter. I think it's closer to like 25, I believe 26, as far as, the cylinder of it. It is a larger tank. If you see right here, you can see what I'm talking about. It sits tiny bit off of this Sigelli 150, just by a hair it sits off. So that is that. But this is definitely for your volume vapor type people. I would just be very cautious. Make sure you're using a regulated device with a lot of power to do this, because even at its minimal, I think 40 watts, it doesn't really perform very well. It's not until you bump it up past about 65 watts is when you really get good flavor and good power out of it. So that's a lot of stuff to talk about in the very beginning, but let's have a vape, dive down, check it out a little bit, and then talk about pros and cons. Alright, so here is the TFV4 tank by Smok. So the big selling point on this one right away is going to be your, 3-coil head and your quad coil head. Top filling, as you can see. Let's look at the information on the back. You can see right there. So that's for you to see if you want to pause it and kind of read it. But it basically says you have glass and stainless steel for the material. Dimensions are 24.5 millimeters round, and you're looking at 70 millimeters in height. As far as, is that with drip tip, without, it doesn't specify. It claims it is a 5 mil juice capacity. The weight is 92 grams. And you're looking at a 510 thread, resistance down to 0.2. This kit includes the tank, the quad head, the triple head, a single coil RBA head, replacement glass tank, refill warning card, and user manual and spare parts. So that is, kind of the details. It also has a little, says what's going on right there. Tells you what's inside of it. So that is that. It has a little sleeve over it. You pull that off. Gonna chuck it. I'm gonna pull this down. Pop this off. You just have a marking. It says Smok or Smoke. You do have a serial number on the side, so that's pretty cool. So here is your tank. Nice, nice, nice. Let me adjust this light a little bit, see if I can get more light over here. Let's boost the ISO just a little bit. Alright, so there's a little bit more light. So there is the tank, not too bad. Real quickly, let's set this aside. Let's just look at the actual goodies real quick. So the tank that was actually in it from the jump. Here's your little user manual that talks about it. The coil head that was in it from the jump would be the triple coil, and we'll be tearing that apart in just a second to show you what it is. So here is some organic Japanese cotton, at least that's what they state. You do have a replacement rubber part for the top filling section. You have a replacement Pyrex glass. You have a couple vape bands that go around it that just say Smok. You have a nice little black screwdriver, a little bit larger than your normal, blue screwdrivers. That's for rebuilding and tooling and stuff like that. So here is your quad coil head. This is your quad coil head. Huge, huge. I would say, shoot, 5 millimeters. The radius of this coil, or the diameter of this coil, sorry, is about 5 millimeters, and it's just huge. You have these giant airflow holes on the bottom coming in, so you have a quad coil supposedly in here. I believe this is a quad coil 0.15. Jeez, these are just dropping lower. 40 to 140 watts is what this claims. So it looks like two parallel coils, so that's why they're saying quad coil on this. So that's what the innards of that is. And then here is your RBA deck. This is going to be the single coil RBA deck. It looks just like your coil head, but of course I can't get it apart. Let me get my handy dandy screwdriver. Alright, here is your single coil RBA head. Let that focus in. So I just have a spaced 24 gauge coil in there. Not too bad if you look a little bit closer. See if it'll focus right here. Okay, so that's just that, and as you can see, I have the wicks going down, just barely going down those channels on the side. So it reminds me a lot of the oh man, what was that thing called? I can't even remember now. Oh my gosh, I think Joytech made it. The Limo. It reminds me a lot of a Limo deck. So, but that's the RBA head for the single coil. And there should be a dual coil RBA head also. So, that's that. Let's look at the actual tank real quick. So, right here, we have our... let's look at this. So, we have our drip tip. You have kind of a... two drip tips going on. You have one, the center, and then you have the outer. So the outer one is where the airflow on the drip tip will adjust. So there's that. It will adjust. Little small airflow all around on that drip tip, and the airflow is going to come up from the kind of well that's made in there. So it doesn't actually, from my understanding, it doesn't hit the inner section. It hits this outer ring, and that's for your drip tip airflow. You have 2 O-rings to seal that off. You have 4 airflow all around this drip tip. So that's your drip tip. As far as your top section, you have some markings on here. It's just going to be basically an arrow saying open. If you see right there, it's basically saying open. It's telling you which way to turn it. So if you just grab it and turn it the way it tells you, that hinge is open, so it's hinged right there. Here is your little rubber seal, and that little line right there is where you actually fill in your juice. So right there is where you fill your juice. That is the actual airflow chimney going down into the deck. Now the cool part about this is a rubber seal, so you can press your drip tip or your dripper or whatever you're dripping into it, and you're not going to get a bunch of messiness all around here. You can actually press it down into it and it will adjust just a little bit. So that's cool for top filling. and it is a generous size, and I've really had no problem using the top fill section. Now, let's just look at the airflow really quickly. So there is basically 4 airflow slots all around. You have sideline airflow, 4 all around. You have 1 here. On the opposite side, you have 1 there. So there's 2, and then you have 1 there and 1 there. And you know, they're not huge, but because you have 4 of them, it makes up for it. You definitely have a lot with all 4 all the way around. I would say roughly 2.5 millimeters in height, and what, 5 to 6, maybe 7 in width. That's just a guesstimate. Looking down, you have your, serial number, designed by Smok. You also have a silver press pin in there. At least it feels like a press pin and looks like a press pin. I believe it is. Yep, and there is some grommet. There's a rubber grommet sealing that. So the actual diameter of this, or the whole, basically from one side to the next side, you're looking at closer to 25 millimeters, 24.5 or so. So it's going to be larger than your normal 22 millimeter, devices. Let's take it apart really quick. It's very simplistic as far as sections. So you have this top section, and that has your top fill on it also. You have a little chimney that has an O-ring. You also have an O-ring down inside of this groove, and then that will seal off onto this tank. So that's that right there. Here is your actual coil. These are huge coils. They are gargantuous coils. They're absolutely huge. The biggest coils I've ever seen. If you look down in there, it's probably hard to see without some light, but yeah. So I don't know if you can see that. You can see 3 lights. 3 little bits of light down there. And so this is a triple coil, and it's basically the Triforce of Courage going on right there. You do have on your bottom section where the coil screws down into, you have your seal right there to seal off the tank, and then you do have a threading inside of there where your pin connects, and then it goes down in and connects just like that. So that is that. So let's put this back together real quickly. So because you have top filling, you don't really have to worry about filling it traditionally. You put your coil in. Make sure to prep your coil, prime your coil. I wouldn't suggest using this on a hybrid, so don't be doing that. So prep your coil, drip some juice into it right when you get it started. Get your top section. You can pop this glass right onto there, however you want to do it. Get this section. Pop your glass onto there, screw it down in. That's tight. Grab your drip tip. That's one section just like that. Open it up, fill it from that slit right there, and open the airflow how you want it. Bump it up and vape on it. So that is your TFV4 by Smok, or Smok. Alright, so as promised, I'm going to break apart one of these coils just for fun. We got our pin, our notorious little pin. Big pin with a man, look at the airflow holes, the eyelet holes on these, 4 of them. I mean, these are probably 4 millimeter all around. There's huge airflow, absolutely. Like I said, this is the biggest coil head I've ever seen. Here's your grommet just like most, and then the rest, as far as I can see, it looks like it's all in one section. There's no way to take this apart. You do have a little O-ring sealing off the base of this, and then if you do look inside of there, you can see those 3 coils. That is just remarkable. It's crazy. Looks like a three barreled gun. So that is that. Let's see if we can't get this stuff apart. See if we can't push it apart, or at least get it out. I don't know how it's gonna work, so I'm just gonna yank on them, pull them out. There's one. Alright, there's 2, and here is 3. Alright, so now you can look down inside. Not too bad at all. So you basically have a three coil frame inside of there that it actually sits down into the frame. Let me see if you can see my hand. That's probably better like that. So see that frame? That's pretty crazy. It's a big guy right there. So yeah, that's kind of the shell that it comes in. Now let's look at this cotton. Now supposedly this is just Japanese cotton. Looks like cotton to me. There is a few, it did burn a little bit, I did notice, so probably got a dry hit out of that. I don't feel any funny business. Don't feel any funny business out of this, so I'm gonna say no funny business. Feels like just a bunch of pads of cotton. They're doing a lot like the Ewell, the Crown by Ewell. They're just doing a bunch of little teeny cotton pads. So that is that's that. As far as your coils, pretty sure it's resistance on resistance. Yep. So there's your little fuse right there where it's fused. This is your non-resistance. This is your resistance up here. As you can see, this is dark. Oh. This is dark. This is not dark. Your fuse is right there. And there's a total of 3 coils. And it fills about 24 gauge. 24 gauge, 26 gauge. I'm going to say more on the 24 gauge. But it does feel like really stiff wire. I wonder if they're using stainless steel coils. I haven't read anything about this, but these coils feel super stiff. Like the wire feels super stiff like a stainless steel would be. So yeah, that is the TFV4 tank. All taken apart, coil heads all taken apart. So let's go back up to FaceTime, talk about it just a little bit more. See ya. So let's talk about pros and cons. So as far as build quality, how it's actually made, and the quality of the device, it is a very nice device, very well made, no beef there, and it's assembled and packaged really well, as you saw in the up close. So really no gripes there. As far as quality, boom, you get an extra glass tank, boom. I know I'm saying boom. But the only thing I would say is, at least the one I got, the stock single coil RBA section, which is, it's nice. It definitely has enough juice flow channels to accommodate a single coil. I mean, you can definitely put a lot of stuff in there. I know the single coil I've been running on the RBA head is going to be a spaced, a spaced out single coil using 24 gauge at 4mm wrap. I think I wrapped about 6 wraps. Yeah, probably about 6 wraps, 4mm, and it was working really well. However, for the actual tank, and because it accommodates so much airflow, I would like to see how the dual coil RBA section kind of performs. I have not got it yet, like I said. So, as far as it is, this single coil RBA section works perfectly. It works great. I'm just kind of thinking, because it has so much airflow, you could do a lot more with the RBA section. So that's all I'm really talking about. As far as performance, it works great. No issues there. Wicking works great. I personally, I like the triple coils a lot. I did mess around with the quad coil just a little bit, but I haven't really vaped on it as much as the triple coils, but the triple coils are very nice. However, I think they're about $30 for 5, and that's like an online price. It's like $29, $27, $29, something like that. So I think that's a little bit high. However, you're getting these gigantic, huge coil heads, so maybe it's worth it. I've been using this for almost 2 weeks, the same coil. So they do last for a good while. However, it's just, I guess it really depends on how much you vape, how much you use. It might not be worth it, or it might get kind of pricey replacing these coil heads. But if you don't worry about price, if that's not an issue for you, then go for it. The other thing I would recommend is, I would not ever recommend this device for a new vapor, or even somebody going from like a 0.5 setup. This device gets super hot, so that's definitely a con. It gets really hot after long chain vaping, so that's just something to think about. Also, make sure you use it on a regulated device that could go up 100 watts and higher, nothing lower, because the minimum is 40 watts. You don't want to be underperforming a mod on this. So those are just some thoughts I have about this. But again, for your type of vapor who likes volume vaping, this is going to be for you. For somebody who likes a nice mouth to lung inhale, you're not going to enjoy this at all. So don't even waste your time on this. And I'm just being completely honest. Don't waste your time on this because this is not really for you. However, you might find use from the RBA, the single coil RBA section. But again, if you're going, above 0.7 ohms, even up to an ohm or higher, you're not really going to get, the performance you would get out of just a regular, smaller device with a smaller RBA head. Definitely more reduced chamber for higher ohms and stuff like that would definitely help you out. So those, again, are just my thoughts on that. I could talk and talk and talk about this, but yeah, that's just my thoughts and my rundown on this. But I want to give a big shout out to GearBest.com for sending this out for review. It is a very good product, again, geared towards your volume vapors, people who like a lot of vapor reduction, and that is really what I feel this device really accommodates. So if you're one of those people, check it out. So that is all. I'm going to wrap up this review, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, please like it. And if you like my videos in general, please subscribe. And as always, stay classy and keep vaping.